Manchester United have set their sights on a young Dutch winger. INEOS want to see a big reaction tonight, and we've got some injury updates. And Manchester United's pursuit of Jarrad Branthwaite is under threat from a rival. This plus all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news that will keep you right up to date with everything. Welcome to Man United Review. My name's Jamie. Before we get into it, please smash a like on the video and let's jump straight into it. So let's kick off with the squad news ahead of tonight's game. No real kind of surprises apart from Dan Gore replaces Mason Mount. I've got some injury update on Mason Mount coming up as well. So, it's pretty much as expected. Good to see Dan Gore back, actually. I think he went out on loan, got injured in his first game, and he's not really, he's only just recovered, had a good game for the under-21s the other day as well. So good to see him kind of back. Be interesting to see how he kind of features within the first team plans and the squad this season. I think the team's going to pick itself, really, isn't it? It'll be Onana, Dalot, Mazraoui, Martinez. You could make an argument for Maguire or De Ligt, because obviously Maguire played in the last Europa League game, so is he going to rest De Ligt? Or is he going to play him tonight and then against Villa? That'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on. The midfield combination will be interesting. Obviously, he'll play Fernandes, won't he? I'd imagine Rashford will play. I don't know whether he'll go with Ahmad or Garnacho. So that's the kind of squad. It's personally for me, I would play Dalot, De Ligt, Martinez, Mazraoui. I don't know what I'd go for. I'm half tempted to throw the kids in, in midfield and go with Ugarte, Collier and Mainu. I don't know why we're not giving Collier a chance. He's got legs in midfield, and that's what we kind of miss. Physicality, and then Ahmad, Garnacho, and if he's fit, I would go with Højlund personally, but we'll have to wait and see. But there's the kind of squad news ahead of tonight's game. In terms of injuries, Erik Ten Hag in his press conference last night said that Mason Mount has a head injury and he took a knock. Those are the two reasons why he's not available for tomorrow. Hopefully the knock is not serious and doesn't keep him out of the game against Villa at the weekend. But then, interestingly, he said Tyrone Malacia is making good progress, but he still has to return to full team training. So Malacia, by all accounts, might be close to coming back to first team full training, which is good. On Luke Shaw, he gave an interesting update saying, we hope Luke Shaw can return soon after the international break. I don't know if that's for the first game. We hope so, but I can't confirm that for sure. So they're still being cautious and not giving like an exact date on when Luke Shaw may return. It is what it is, isn't it? And then Malacia is now closer to a return than ever before, and club staff are feeling positive about his recent progress. He could finally return in the winter months of November and December. So there could be on the horizon, the possibility that we have Malacia and Luke Shaw both returning quicker than expected, but I remain skeptical on that. I think we need to wait and see, especially with Luke Shaw. He'll probably come back, play half a game, and then get injured again for the rest of the year. So I have to wait and see. But let me know what you think in the comments. Now, moving on to the manager, obviously there's still the talk of the town is Erik Ten Hag and his future. So there's been a few more updates over the last 24 hours. So Manchester United co-owners INEOS want to see a reaction, an important one in terms of results and performance. The games against FC Porto and Aston Villa will be really, really crucial for Erik Ten Hag's Manchester United future. The United hierarchy want to see a big reaction in terms of the performances and the results. And I mentioned this the other day. I think they're going to judge more off the performances than the results, because they don't want to see what happened against Tottenham. What INEOS want, they want to see a style of play being implemented. They want to see, they don't want to go from jumping from one game to another game with different tactics and different formations and all this stuff. They want to see some consistency within the kind of team and in the squad and in the play style. So I do think that maybe the performances will be more important than the results. But obviously Romano there saying, big couple of games coming up. Ben Jacobs had the following to say. So he said that Manchester United are calm about the situation, but the next two games are pivotal. Nobody has told Erik Ten Hag that he has two games or bust. There is an alignment review going on at the football club. INEOS are going to do we're going to do a review at Christmas, and it feels like INEOS are now going to move that review forward, which is interesting. So what they were kind of saying, what Ben Jacobs was always saying, was the plan was always to review things again at like Christmas, but the beginning of the new year, to see where they were in terms of what their standards were, where they were in terms of the performances and everything like that, and review the situation again. But because the start of the season's gone a little bit skew-if, they're bringing that forward to the next international break. So that's why the next 2 games apparently are pivotal for the manager. But you know, who knows? We don't know INEOS's resolve. They might just ride this out. That's all the media and everyone talking about the next two games and stuff. But who knows what they're actually kind of thinking? And the interesting thing about it, or the point I was thinking about the other day, was with Dan Ashworth now being in and amongst it and working with Ten Hag and with Jason Wilcox and everybody, they'll see what's going on behind the scenes. I said this in the summer. I think it was when we were talking about Sancho and potentially he was staying. And I was saying Sancho will have nowhere to hide because the other people or the directors will be able to see what's happening in the training ground and in the team meetings and all of this stuff because they're around the building and around the place now. So they'll be observing everything. So if they decide that actually it is the manager's fault because he's I don't know, he's tactically inept or whatever the reason, then they will obviously pull the trigger, I think. But if they decide that actually it's nothing to do with Erik Ten Hag, it's the players that are not following instructions, let's give him the support that he needs. So who knows what INEOS actually are going to do, but it's widely documented by very credible people that it's going to be reviewed in the international break. Ben Jacobs also said that players will get the opportunity to speak in favour or potentially against Erik Ten Hag. Ruud van Nistelrooy has impressed. He has the bond with the players. He understands the culture. And then, interestingly, Ben Jacobs said it would only cost between 5 to 7 million to sack Ten Hag, which is interesting. And he was kind of saying that there's ways that the club can manipulate the settlement package to negotiate around PSR rules, similarly to how we've done with some of our deals, where we spread the cost over like a number of years, for example. He was kind of giving examples around, where they might just pay him his wage until he finds another job rather than giving him a lump sum, and loads of different ways around it, which was interesting. Kind of almost dispelling the PSR. We're going to have to pay him £17 million and we can't do that because of PSR. And Ben Jacobs kind of, dismissed that entirely. Said, no, there's ways that clubs can do it around PSR, which is really interesting. So that kind of financial element is maybe not there. And then the Muppeteers had the following to say. INEOS have measures in place to view Ten Hag and the progress being made. 20 and Spurs raised huge alarm bells for INEOS. Ten Hag will be judged on how he deals with problems such as Dalot not marking Johnson for the Spurs go, and INEOS don't feel great about how Ten Hag has dealt with the problems so far. So what the Muppeteers was effectively saying was that they have measures, so they have like barometers or expectations from Ten Hag that they want to kind of see the trajectory of the club, basically. And at the moment, they're worried about that. But also they want to see how Ten Hag deals with certain things on the pitch. Whereas in the past, and I think it is one of Ten Hag's biggest kind of flaws, is that he will continually play players, even though they're not doing what he said or not performing very well. He will continue to pick them. And what INEOS are saying is, well, actually, no, there needs to be kind of consequences, or how do you deal with these problems? Do you know what I mean? So because we can't see the same things happening week in, week out, and if he's not dealing with it, then that's when I think INEOS will obviously make their decision. He also said that some of the things that have happened are unacceptable, and INEOS are worried. They are seeing problems that aren't being fixed. INEOS are not impressed with the game plan changing from game to game, which is what I spoke about before. They want to see football, a consistent performance, and we've not had a consistent performance from game to game for God knows how long under Ten Hag. It always chops and changes. We're good one week, bad the next, good for this half, bad for this half. Do you know what I mean? It's been a consistent, that's probably the only big thing that's been consistent about United is our inconsistency. And then he also went on to say that INEOS wanted to do a review at the end of the calendar year. INEOS wanted to know their plans by January, and then for their long-term manager, etc. With how things have gone, INEOS are going to discuss things sooner over the international break. There will be discussions. So the Muppeteers kind of confirming what Ben Jacobs was saying. So they're both in alignment with the fact that what the plan was to review things at December time or Christmas ahead of obviously the January transfer window, but then also making plans in place maybe to speak to managers around the summer if they wanted to remove Ten Hag at that stage and so on and so forth. But because of the way the season started, they're bringing it forward and they're going to be doing that kind of, I don't know, mini review almost in the international break. So that's why I was saying I think the performances are just as important, if not more important, than the results over the next 2 games. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. Now, moving on. So we've had a bit of transfer news. So Ruben van Bommel, son of legendary former footballer Mark van Bommel, is beginning to write his own story in the world of football. At 20 years old, the young talent from AZ Alkmaar has surprised both fans and critics with his brilliant performances in the Eredivisie. His impressive display in the first match of the Europa League hasn't gone unnoticed, sparking the interest of top European clubs like Bayern Munich and Manchester United, who are closely monitoring his development. Manchester United are seeking to strengthen their squad with young and talented players and also set their sights on him, knowing that his technical abilities and mentality align with the values of the English club. Now, that's not come from the most credible sources from Spanish outlet, so I would say take it with a pinch of salt. Very interesting option, though. Would tick all the boxes that INEOS are looking for. Young, up and coming, developmental, 20 years old. He's a left-footed right winger. He's tall as well, 6'3". Looks a very decent player. Dutch, plays in the Eredivisie. I'm joking with those ones. So, looks a good option. Not from the most credible source. So I would say take it with a pinch of salt for now. Would be a very interesting option, though, to kind of bring in. Keep an eye on it for you. If we get any more credibility around it, then I'll bring it to you. But at the moment, like I said, I would say take that with a pinch of salt because it's not come from the most credible Spanish outlet. But really interesting player. Go check him out and let me know what you think in the comments. And keep with transfer news. So it's been said that Manchester United plans to make a fresh bid for Jarrad Branthwaite next summer are in danger of being hijacked by Liverpool. Liverpool are firm admirers and could feasibly move for him in January and offer closer to what Everton want. So that's a bit of an alarm. Apparently his family are all Liverpool fans as well, Jarrad Branthwaite. So it'll be interesting to see if that's true. That came from Chris Wheeler, who's a credible source, suggesting that maybe Liverpool might swoop in for Jarrad Branthwaite. I don't know how I would feel about that because I kind of think Branthwaite would be a player that we would go for next summer as competition for the left-sided centre-back. Can also play at left-back as well. Do you know what I mean? Would give you that kind of bit of cover. Young, homegrown, good player. I think he's a good player. So yeah, have to see how that one develops. If Liverpool kind of swoop in, he'd have obviously a decision to make. And like I said, with him being from the area and his family will be Liverpool fans, I don't know whether that would make his mind up if he had the choice between United and Liverpool. I'd imagine that the people in his ears would be tipping him maybe to go more towards Liverpool. But while it would be annoying, I don't necessarily think it would be the end of the world. There are other players we could potentially go for, but I do think that INEOS do want Branthwaite. There's something in that Branthwaite deal because obviously we had personal terms agreed. Just couldn't, Everton were just trying to pull our pants down in the summer, weren't they? That was the only reason that deal didn't go through. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. And then it's been said by the Mail that there is an obsession not just among the INEOS bosses, but also at United on youth development. So INEOS are massively, and the club are massively going all in on the youth development and bringing through the young players. I think for 2 reasons. One, obviously, we've got that tradition as Manchester United to bring in these players and play them in development. So we need to keep up that tradition. I think it's for me personally, I love watching the young players come through and watching them develop. Do you know what I mean? Way more than I do watching signings come in and do there's just something about it, isn't there, when you've got those kind of homegrown players coming through. But also financial fair play and profit sustainability rules. If you can develop these young players and sell them on, like at some other clubs are being really successful at selling on their kind of youth and reserve players for big amounts, that's massively helping them in the transfer market as well. So I can see that that's like a two specific reasons for that kind of going through. And then keeping with the youth, Manchester United believe Jack Fletcher had first team potential when he signed from City, and he's pushing to make his debut. Apparently, he was in first team training the other day as well, doing really well for the reserves. One to keep an eye on. Could he be the next one that's kind of, introduced into the first team, and the next one that's kind of going to be coming through? Who knows? But he's a really, really talented player. I actually was surprised he didn't get given more minutes and more game time in pre-season, but obviously there was something there where maybe they didn't think he was quite ready, or they wanted to give Collier that kind of opportunity, and next will be Fletcher. Do you know what I mean? Because you don't want to bring too many young players through at the same time, because it will stump their development. So maybe he's the one for next season or for later on in this season. But really, really talented player. So massively excited to see, obviously, the concentration on youth from INEOS, but also, the pathway to the first team is key on that one as well. But let me know what you think in the comments, and let me know what you think about all the other topics we've discussed in today's video below. Do enjoy reading them. Don't forget to smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I will see you in the next one.